Hello Husker fans, Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald, HuskerExtra.com and Omaha.com. This is our signing day signee breakdown, and we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. Nebraska is signing a very small class for 2022 for reasons that have been well explained many times by many people, so we won't waste your time with that here. We'll just go over the guys that they're signing in the class and talk a little bit about where Nebraska might go with maybe some remaining scholarships that they have either for the transfer portal or for high school kids, because I suspect that they're going to be taking this process out for quite a ways. They don't have a lot of offensive guys in the class. They're bringing back a lot of offensive linemen. They're bringing back a lot of skill players in a lot of positions. One area where they need more players is probably running back, and they're probably going to get a transfer quarterback, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's start with wide receiver Victor Jones. Victor Jones, 6'2", 185, out of Orlando Olympia High School. This is a good player, I think. He might be one of the guys that you look in this class and say, that's a guy that might be able to play pretty early. Shifty, good hands, good over the middle. Nothing too flashy about him as a player, but he does a nice job after the catch. And this is an offense with Mark Whipple, now the new offensive coordinator, where your yards after catch are going to matter. They're looking for guys that can kind of maneuver in the middle of the field, and I think Victor Jones actually fits that pretty well. He's one of the highest rated players in the class, and a guy that's been committed for really almost a year, and so he stuck with it. Mickey Joseph becoming the new wide receivers coach, I think, absolutely helped that process. Next up, quarterback Richard Torres. So 6'5", 210 pounds, out of Southside High School in San Antonio. Nebraska took a flyer on Torres, as many people might remember, last mid-March, before the pandemic had really ended and the NCAA had lifted its pandemic-related recruiting rules. They offered him a scholarship, and they believed in him more than any other Power 5 school did. And he got a couple of other offers from Power 5s, Kansas State being one, Washington State sort of as well. But Torres ultimately picked Nebraska after he made a visit up here in June. He then made a return visit for the Iowa games, an official visitor, and he plans on enrolling early. What do we think of Torres? Well, look, I mean, he's a lot like Heinrich Haarberg. He's tall, he's got a big arm, he's athletic, and he's raw. And it's going to take him at least a year, maybe 2 years, to develop into the kind of player that you want to see. For one thing, he's going to have to gain weight. For in other words, he's going to have to finish rehabbing a torn ACL that he suffered in mid-September. And so Torres is probably not a guy that you're going to be talking about playing right away. For the Huskers, it might be a year or two before he gets on the field, especially if Mark Whipple goes after a transfer quarterback. But there's some upside here. This is a guy that I think could potentially do some fun things at Nebraska. And again, one advantage of being really tall, you can see over the defense. And so you're more likely to stay in a pocket because you don't have to vacate the pocket to see your throwing lanes. Next up, Chase Androth out of Lakeville South. Nebraska has a player from Lakeville North. That is Bryce Benhardt. Chase Androff, 6'6", 230 pounds, from Lakeville South. He's listed as a tight end. He was a blocking tight end in high school. There is a chance that this kind of guy could become an offensive tackle at Nebraska. We're going to have to find out. Chase Androff didn't catch a lot of balls there, but he's got good athleticism. He's got power off the line, and it is not uncommon for tight ends in high school football to transition to collegiate offensive tackles. It's pretty common because they have a big wingspan, they tend to be fairly tall, and they tend to be pretty athletic, right? It's not always easy to take a center or a guard and put him out to tackle, especially if he's kind of a bigger guy, because he may not have the flexibility or the movement to be able to do the job. However, I suspect that Androth may end up there. If not, he's an effective blocking tight end, and guess what? In Mark Whipple's offense, that's somebody who will be able to help. That is the bulk of the offensive skill players that they've got signed at this point, or that they're going to have in the class. They did add a transfer portal player in Kevin Williams, the transfer from Northern Colorado, offensive lineman, could play guard, could play tackle. He was an Omaha North grad, and he'll be really interesting to watch. Now, let's talk about what they might still add. First, I think Nebraska would love to get another wide receiver. The guy that you're going to watch is Coldest Crawford. He is going to announce on Friday morning where he's going to school. He was an LSU commit. He was connected to Mickey Joseph, and now he's making an announcement on Friday morning, and it very well may be Nebraska. Remember, in the transition from LSU's staff, from the old staff to the new staff, Brian Kelly has kind of made a full change, like a switch, a line change that did not happen with some of the other coaches that were there through multiple head coaching changes. In this particular case, Brian Kelly's kind of starting over in terms of recruiting. He's going to recruit Louisiana, but it's possible that some players are going to fall away from the class because they haven't really been contacted. And Kelly wants to do something different. Crawford is a guy to watch. I think there probably are a couple of running back targets out there in the transfer portal. We don't know who all those guys are yet. Some of them might not transfer until after bowl games. Sometimes guys want to get bowl film. Sometimes guys want to see how things are going to shake out, and then they leave. I think Nebraska will be in the transfer portal all the way through early January for a running back, and then of course quarterback. There's a lot of guys in there. Whipple has to make the wise choice, and if that's Miles Brennan, great. If that's somebody else, great. And then they got to develop the heck out of him. Maybe one, maybe two. Wouldn't surprise me if that second quarterback was somebody who was more developmental, maybe a little bit younger. Well, as that first quarterback was an older guy who might have 1 year left, and then they bring in somebody else who might be a kind of a pro-style passer. All right, that's the breakdown of Nebraska's recruiting class on offense, and we will have another one for defense. For the Omaha World-Herald, HuskerExtra.com, and Omaha.com, I'm Sam McKewon. Thank you.